Welcome to Fans of the Forge. I'm Chris. To my right we have Teresa, and to my left we have Sean.
That's right.
And today's episode we are recapping Season 5, Episode 2, the Schiavona. The contestants for this episode were Brad, a Connecticut guy, local, rooting for the home team guy here, maybe.
Was it North Branford?
I think so.
Yeah, represent.
North Granby.
Granby.
Oh, who cares?
No,
Where is that? I don't even know where that is.
It's some part of Connecticut.
Oh, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, anyway, he was a 3-year part-time experience guy, and he was my underdog pick because out of everybody here, he had the least experience. He seemed like a decent enough guy.
As
so
most Connecticut people are.
That's subjective. The next guy on the list was Brendan, and he had 13 years experience full-time, and that was Teresa's pick, my pick, and Sean's underdog pick. And it was funny when we were actually going through the picking and stuff at the beginning of the episode. You know, I looked at, Teresa was writing down all the information, and I wasn't feeling very well, so I was actually laying on the floor with my eyes closed, just listening to it. And then, like, after we had, like, a repeat, I asked her, well, how many years experience did everybody have? And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go with Brendan. And she goes, you picked the only one with the beard, again! So I had my accidental beard bro there. And then from there we had Jeff. He also had 13 years at part-time experience. That was Teresa's underdog pick. And then last but not least, we had Wes, who was a 30-year experience full-time, and that was Sean's pick to win it.
Right.
So round one, they started at a farm.
Yep.
They come outside, a nice, bright, sunny day, and they see coal forges. They were forced to use coal forges, and they also were only allowed to use 2 power tools, angle grinders and chop saws. And then they were then told, up that hill, there's a big old pile of scrap metal, old farm tools that you got to go pick through and pick the metal for your blades. They were given 4 hours, and they had to kind of contend with the heat of the day and the fact that it was very sunny. Actually ended up making it a little bit more difficult for some of the processes, some of the forging that they had to do. Wes, in particular, he picked a saw blade and a piece of an axle. And the saw blade was crap metal. He couldn't do much with it, and he tried to change to the axle at one point, but that was too thick, so he ended up going back to the saw blade. And after all the work he put into it, like, it didn't look like it was good, and then next thing you know, he's got a full-shaped blade out of nowhere.
Even the judges were like, well, that's not going to work out. It's going to fold over really easy, and it showed him hammering it out, and it was kind of deforming. And then all of a sudden, hey, he's got a blade, and it looks good. And I was like, oh, okay.
He had a blade, and, he did have some cracks in it after the quench, so that was a little bit of an issue. They noted 7 different cracks during that process. Brad, he overheated his metal and had to start over. That was probably about 2 hours in. Jeff, he couldn't get the forge going. He never had used a coal forge, and he was just struggling to get the thing running consistently. But even with almost cold forging a lot of it, he managed to pull off this beefy blade that didn't have any cracks in it, which is almost the most common thing that's going to happen when you're cold forging a blade like that, is you're going to most likely have all these stress fractures that come up when you're hitting it with it not being warm enough. But he managed to get something put together. And then Brendan, as he was making his, noticed an inclusion during the grinding process. He must have broke through the little pocket.
That was his second blade.
Oh, and that was on his second blade.
Yeah,
he had actually overheated his first one.
And he pulled out an auger, and he was unwinding it, and then he had like 90 minutes left when he started over with this auger
He had to
section.
go back up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd run up this hill like 50 yards away, come back, start over, and he started grinding it, and there was just nasty looking inclusion in there.
And this was our introduction to the show. When we first heard about it, my dad was like, "This show is great. They have these tools, and they have to go out hiking up the hill and get the metal before they can put it in the forge." And I'm like, okay, Dad, we'll check this out.
Yeah, it was when we first turned it on, and we're looking for an episode to watch. It just so happened that that was the most recent one at the time, and so we had that was probably one of the first episodes we watched, and we're like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, we get it. We get why the show's good. But in the long run, when it came down to the judging, Brendan had some issues again with the inclusion, but because Wes was cracked so badly in multiple spots, they had to boot him from the show. So Sean's pick right off the bat got booted.
Yeah, he got booted, man.
But, he even said it. He survived 4 divorces. He could survive losing the competition without a problem. So, really?
Hey, man.
4 divorces?
Hats off to you.
Yeah, congratulations.
All right.
Anyway, moving on to round 2.
It's probably got like 4 cats or something.
So round 2, was when they put their handles on. They also needed to have a hidden lanyard hole that would be bigger than 1/4 of an inch. And as far as looking through our notes, none of us really had anything written down for round 2. Not a whole lot of drama.
Not much happened in
Working
there.
on the blades, fixing whatever problems that they had. They were inside now, so they could see a little better. Then we go to judging, where we have the hoof slice. Brad had named his a hoof slicer. He was his own special blade.
Yeah, well,
That he
about
decided-
that.
Yeah.
He named it a hoof slicer during the first part. Did they know what they were going to be
Yes.
doing for a
Yes.
test ahead of time?
They said that they were
Yeah.
going to be chopping hooves.
Hooves.
They
so,
did.
So he made something specifically to, chop hooves.
Okay.
Called it a hoof slicer, and his blade folded a little bit. But then when it was Brendan's turn, he had significant chipping all along the blade. And Jeff's just demolished those hooves. There's basically nothing left.
He
Oh,
took
he's-
care of those hooves.
Yeah.
It exploded. It was pretty nasty.
And then when it came to the sharpness test with the burlap sack, Brad and Jeff did really well. And Brendan's cut it, but it had a snag because of all those chips. And so he was the one eliminated in that round. And now Brendan was a pick of all of ours for one reason or another. It was mine and Chris's actual pick and Sean's underdog, and he's gone.
When will my beard bros win? When? Not now,
You got to
apparently.
get rid of that beard.
That's the long and short of it. The beard.
Well, no. I stick strong with my beard brothers.
All right, so that brings us to round 3, the Schiavona. And it was a 16th century weapon used in Italy. Mercenaries were hired to guard a Venetian head of state, use these weapons. Had multiple fullers in it, and had a double edge, a basket hilt, and guard. And they needed to include a cat head pommel on their weapons. Also featured in Assassin's Creed, like I guess many weapons. So there you go.
They feel the need to point out what's in video
They
games,
do. They
so-
really hit the video game thing. I don't know if it's to get people excited about it.
I think that's a
Is it
good
an
way to
advertisement?
get a. I don't know if it's an advertisement. I feel like it's a good way to just pull in a younger crowd that maybe is more into video games. They're like, hey, I used that
Oh
weapon.
yeah, I
Oh,
saw that.
here it is in
Yeah,
real
it's
life.
kind of how I'm thinking about it. 'Cause they mentioned other video games. I don't think it's not too much is always recent, but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the build was mostly uneventful. Jeff had. Well, I noticed that Jeff, he seemed to use mostly hand tools in this. I didn't see a lot of power tools that Jeff was using in this. He got a bend, I think, after his quench, but he was able to fix it. Typical for anyone that's in this challenge.
Mm-hmm.
He did notice that his guard was kind of rubbing on his knuckles when he did like a test hit on some rope at his place. But he couldn't really change his day 5, whatever. He's just going to leave it and hope for the best. Brad, very energetic at his home forge, started doing pull-ups, started hitting a speed bag to get that energy out, and then did a pineapple like slice joust on his little pony on his little farm there. It was okay, neat. Give him some props for that.
Yeah.
He's
I guess I bet the
Testing
camera
style.
crew showed up and he's like, hey guys, I have a horse.
right. I got a post and a pineapple. Like, let's do it. So yeah, kind of fun, and he's having fun with it. And so it takes us to judging. And first was the kill test. And they had Doug's brother again.
Yep,
RJ.
RJ. Yep.
And they both passed. They both had some different handle rubs. So Jeff had his knuckle rub from the guard, and Brad had like a thumb rub on the guard.
Right. So I was wondering, like, when they are designing these things, obviously they're making measurements that they think will work good to not rub against the inside of your hand. But I wonder if there was some better way they could have done that, like approximated the size of a fist or something, using something to as they wrapped it around to kind of give a better idea of what it would actually do during.
Think they definitely would probably put their hand, and I don't know. I don't know how you take a good measurement. Maybe just kind of trace around, but as you start to web things together, it just doesn't always work out, or however it happens.
That's true.
They're intricate. It's just multiple pieces of metal forming and coming around, and because it's kind of ornate work. So that's just how it goes, and you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you hold it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's good, but then you really hold it, and you pick it up, and that weight kind of shifts on your hand. So then I would probably do it with like a glove on, give yourself a little extra.
Yeah, just to make sure if it is hitting, you would have, just a little bit extra space there to build in. But.
So then we move on to the strength test, which was a terracotta pot punch and then a birch log chop. So I was mentioning, when he mentioned terracotta pot punch or whatever, I was like, well, what are they going to do with that? And then it turns out he just took the guard and just punched it. And then he hacked at a couple birch logs like 6 times.
Yeah.
And,
it was interesting. I mean, they only showed the punch in slow motion. I think it was probably not very impressive in regular speed. It almost looked like he kind of got caught up both times and then just kind of got pushed off the back a little bit. So I don't know that I get that that's what they're using it for, is like to test maybe the punching power you could still have in close combat, or maybe the blocking power against another sword or anything, just other,
They always explain it somehow, but for that,
they didn't.
I don't think they really explained what that was going to simulate.
Right. Now, when they talked about having that type of hilt on it and basket guard, they mentioned it to protect against slashing, not for punching people in the face.
I mean, you could. Obviously, it makes sense. It would hurt.
Yeah.
But
maybe it was also to test that the guard was attached well.
That's a good point, to just test the strength, because that is the point of all these tests, right?
Yeah.
Not what they do to the terracotta pot or the birch logs, but what it does to their blades. So if when they punched it, it loosened up or something, then that would be a point against them.
So Brad came out with a small deformation from the birch chop. Jeff did fine. And then it goes on to the sharpness test, which is a rope cut, which releases a sandbag that then Dave just swipes at, and then it's 2 bags like that. So 2 ropes, 2 bags. And Brad did well. Jeff had clean cuts. And at the end, I didn't know one way or the other who they were going to pick. Usually, kind of at the end of the show, I'm like, all right, kind of a feeling. But this one, it was really kind of I was like, well, I could go either way. And Jeff got the win.
Yeah, he pulled it out.
Kudos to Jeff. He got the win on that one.
I got the point.
Yep, Teresa gets the underdog points there. Eventually, maybe we'll work out the point system, and I'll go through and add this stuff up. Yeah. I just haven't done the points yet. One thing we did forget to mention was there was a very good Doug Marcada background shot during the kill test.
Yes.
Oh, you gotta love it when Doug is just in the background with the face. It's a smile.
Put it up there. Put it up on the screen.
Oh, it'll be there. And it's a smile. And then the first step in.
You see, that's a big grin. You see his cheeks.
Loves it. This ballistics dummy bloodlust that he has.
It's true. Yeah.
Doug, he makes the show really, really great sometimes. Just the little things he does. He's so into it. Everybody's good, but Doug kind of takes the cake sometimes. So anyway, that's the episode. It was a good one. It was a very interesting competition. I like that they changed it up with the coal forges and making them find the scrap metal on the hill and all that good stuff. So that being said, That was Season 5, Episode 2, Schiavona. Please like our videos, subscribe to the channel, comment on the videos, tell us if you want us to talk about anything else during these. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Adios.
Bye.